real quick before the actual video begins, I just want to say that I have Drop a Draco socks on sale. They're available for 9 more days. They are back because people really asked for them, and we got a new design. I love the way it looks. If you guys would like to pick it up, link is down below in the description. Alright, so let's watch this SoulWind game. Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with one of the semifinal tiebreakers for this year's SPL. So we have SoulWind of the Wi-Fi Wolfpack versus We Three Kings of the Alpha Ruiners. Now, We Three Kings has been playing a lot of DVP this season, so he's actually playing black and white OU, which is pretty cool, and SoulWind is a very avid black and white OU player. Plays it a lot, really solid at it. Let's just look at the teams real quick. So we have SoulWind, which has a Sam balance right here with Spikes plus Reinuclus, and then Pokemon like Terrakion to probably break with the Spikes. Lanners looks like it could be just Choice Scarf, Rotom defensive, gives him help versus Sand, especially because his opponent actually has Rain plus Excadrill, which is a really common archetype right now. Just because it doesn't matter if you lose the Weather War, you get a Sand Rush Excadrill in your squad and you just reverse sweep your opponent, so that's really cool. Pokemon like Keldeo, especially if it specs in the rain, is extremely annoying. The specs Hydro Pump is 2 KOing, you know, all these Mons in the middle, or even OHKOing all these Mons in the middle, and then Secret Sword. Politoed could be defensive or even a wide lens set with Hypnosis, and if it is a wide lens set with Hypnosis, if it does manage to sleep either Rotom or Ferrothorn, really annoying for SoulWind. Latios specs on Rain, more than likely. I mean, already Specs Latios is busted, man. Specs Draco 2 KOing some variants of T-Tar. And then Toxidrow can either be a sub-toxic set with Focus Punch, can be a Swordsdance set, bulk up. It's just there to help with his Keldeo weakness, because especially with Rain up, like Latios is not a switch into Specs Keldeo. So let's actually just look at the game and get right into it. So we see Lanners lead versus Politoed. Smart on SoulWind Spark, especially if he was Choice Scarf, because he'd always outspeed any variant of Politoed, and Lanners' Intimidate does go before Drizzle, so even if it's not Scarf Lanners, we do see that it's faster than the Politoed, and it turns out this Politoed is very defensive because we do see leftovers, and the Skull did nothing. This does, however, give SoulWind the opportunity to potentially get up Stealth Rock, but he actually makes a more aggressive play right here and decides Superpower, whether that is damage on Keldeo, Excadrill, or Ferrothorn, one of the Mons he was more than likely predicting, just wanting a nice and solid hit on one of those, and I can respect that play, especially if it's Ferrothorn. You weaken him for pretty much Lano's Earthquake sweep, potentially, especially if your Rain is up, like Lano does a number versus him with Scarf, and also, you know, smacking Drill. But I think more so is to weaken Ferrothorn right there. But either way, it still weakens Politoed as well, to a point of close combat from Terrakion. So you can go out to Rotom, as the Politoed is going to throw off another Scald. No burns though, no burns, period. But Rotom is inside, and Rotom can either Will-O-Wisp, expecting Ferrothorn, or Volt Switch, expecting Latios. Opts the Volt Switch out. Only Latios comes in and goes Tyranitar. However, this T-Tar is in range of the Choice Specs Draco Meteor, so he's going to double out to Ferrothorn. Very solid play, ensuring that Latios does stay in, take a little bit of sand damage too, which is really important for Rotom wearing it down. It's also in U-turn range from Lando, so gets in Ferrothorn, which allows him to get up his Stealth Rock, and if he does have Spike on this Ferrothorn, he can also get that up. As you see, he does. Now, We Three Kings Hazard Control is Excadrill, but it's more than likely Excadrill on Balloon. Especially on these type of builds, you always have Drill on a Balloon, because it means he gets a free SD versus Scarf Lantern, which is really popular. And if he tries to spin on Ferrothorn, Ferrothorn would just Power Whip, break his Balloon, get about like 60% off either way, and pretty much get rid of Drill, which makes Lando be a huge problem. So Latios comes out right now, and as Ferrothorn set up Stealth Rock and he Calm Minded. This is pretty important right here. SoulWind actually decides to scout for what I believe to be the trick from the Latios. Since Latios can run whatever third move it really wants, a lot of people run Dragon Pulse, Draco, Surf. I know Blunder runs Dragon Pulse, Draco, Surf, Sleep Talk. Trick is also an option to neuter people, or Pokemon like Chansey as well as Spadef, Jirachi in this tier. So he decides to scout for the trick. That's what I'm assuming he's doing, because Calm Mind Reinuclus puts in so much work versus We Three Kings team, especially with Politoed being so weakened. And I say that because Politoed could usually come in and encore, maybe Perish Song, live a hit, but Politoed is so low. So scout for that trick, goes Ferrothorn, which is a good play. Lati actually opts to just throw off a Specs Draco. So I'm thinking SoulWind thinks right now that this Latios does not have trick. So smart scout on his part, as he is going to go Excadrill right now. Opts to go for Leech Seed, very solid play. This gets it in versus Excadrill, and this also is, whoa. This is also really nice because Excadrill is in a really bad situation, I want to say. not only is Ferrothorn slowly recovering, I think he expected him to go for more spikes, which then the Excadrill play makes sense because Earthquake would do a ton to Ferrothorn. But with the Leech recovery, he lives Earthquake, and if Excadrill opts to stay in right here, he'll be able to pretty much take Iron Barb's damage and break his balloon with power up and get a hell of a lot of damage off on that Excadrill right there. So Re3 Kings makes the smart switch out into Ferrothorn, as he's just going to start spike stacking, and SoulWind decides to actually just do the same. So we do see before he gets to his final later, he goes out to Reinuclus. Now again, I mentioned how much of a problem this Reinuclus is to We3 Kings team. His ways of dealing it are potentially beating it with SD Excadrill, or critting it with Latios, or even hitting it with a Draco before Reinuclus Calm Mind. But Reinuclus comes in, goes for Calm Mind as Latios is going to come out. And this means that he can knock it out with Psyshock with the sand damage. So instead of actually recovering here, and I think what he wanted to do was not risk a crit and pretty much secure a KO, he opts to go right for Psyshock and knock out the Latios. Because if you went for recovery, you know, the more turns you're on the defensive, the more likely it is, because you're giving your opponent more openings, the more likely it was that Latios' Draco Meter could crit, and that would really suck because Reinuclus like smacks him. So Excadrill comes out. This also puts We3 Kings in a more defensive situation, but at the same time with SoulWind, what I mean by that is a +1 boost to Reinuclus will knock out Excadrill with Focus Blast for sure. So I think it's less likely that if We3 Kings does have Rapid Stone, which he should, that he goes for it right here. It's more likely he'll go for Earthquake. So SoulWind just decides to make the smart play out into Rotom because it is pretty much a counter. Goes for the Iron Head though to try and catch Landorus. So We3 Kings does take a little bit more of an offensive approach, but at the same time, I don't think that would knock out Reinuclus to that range. But SoulWind goes for the Will-O-Wisp. Unfortunately, misses on the Ferrothorn coming in, which is pretty big because that means that he could just Volt Switch out and not have to worry about this thing. But not wanting to take about the 40% or so, 45% from the power up, decides to Volt Switch out into Reinuclus as he does miss power up. That miss only mattered if power up did crit. But this just means that SoulWind can go for recover. But again, a more offensive approach. He doesn't want to allow something like Excadrill to come out. Ends up catching the Politoed with a Focus Blast. The crit did not matter. Politoed is going to go down. And that means that essentially the Weather War is won by SoulWind. But that doesn't mean that it is it's like he's out of the game, or We3 Kings is out of the game just yet. Just because, again, Sand Rush Excadrill can really take advantage of the sand. So I understand We3 Kings' game plan right here. He opts to actually stay in and Hydro Pump the Rotom. Reason being is because he wants to try and sweep with Excadrill. That's his way of potentially reverse sweeping his opponent. So decides to go for the Hydro Pump right there as he's able to go for the Volt Switch. Get him Ferrothorn right now. Even lets him weaken Ferrothorn even more. So that's really nice for Earthquake from the Excadrill since he's out. He is definitely in range. And basically stays in because Hazards would have been doing their job anyway. So Excadrill comes out. If there was no sand, maybe a Rapid Spin could have worked, and then Scarf Keldeo could have swept with potentially Surf. But Excadrill comes out, goes for Earthquake there as opposed to going for the SD, because basically he gets a free SD versus Landorus anyway, since Landorus is forced to go for U-turn unless it has superpower. So that means that now he's at more attack than what he would have been before. Now he's at neutral instead of being at -1, which he was versus Landorus. So Landorus comes back out. At this point, We3 Kings actually has to hope to try and flinch it to death. So he actually ends up getting the Iron Head flinch right here, which is really, really important because that means that Landorus can't just click Earthquake and potentially sweep, and Reinuclus can't just win in the end game with Psyshock spam. So Sax Terrakion makes a lot of sense. Especially if it was like a non-Earthquake variant of Terrakion. If it had Earthquake, then you know you can still use it for a Toxic Croak. But at that point, I think what We3 Kings, or what Soul King was going for, was being able to get him his 9% Rotom. And this 9% Rotom actually does live Iron Head. So I'm not entirely sure how We3 Kings should have played this turn, especially how the way the battle ends up going. I'm not sure if he should have went for the Iron Head flinch again, and then went for the dodge on Reinuclus. Because I don't even think he needed a dodge on Reinuclus, because if he got the SD, +1 would do enough for Toxic. I'm not entirely sure how this turn should have been played out. But basically SoulWind made his best play right now, which was going for Pain Split, because it got Rotom out of range of Excadrill. And I'm pretty sure a max attack Excadrill's Rapid Spin didn't KO Rotom either way, but I'm pretty sure Iron Head is also stronger. So goes for the Will-O-Wisp on the Ferrothorn, which means that even if it starts critting Reinuclus, it does not matter because Reinuclus will be able to live any hit. So We3 Kings decides to go right out into Toxic Croak. Now, if Toxic Croak has any move in this generation, the move it's going to be is like No, more offensive SD set would be like SD, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Sucker Punch. The bulk up set would be like the subset would be like Sub Toxic, Focus Punch, Sucker Punch. So at this point, I think because SoulWind hadn't been revealing Calm Mind, even though it's kind of obvious because he was defensive, Reinuclus, We3 Kings just hopes for a choke that he attacks and then can go for the Sucker Punch to hopefully either give him multiple opportunities to crit and then put him in range of that Excadrill. But SoulWind just decides to go for the safe +2, and this is safe because it means that now he doesn't have to risk Focus Blast versus Excadrill. After the hazard damage, +2 Side Shock does knock it out, and the only thing he has to really worry about is being flinched to death by Excadrill as well. So Toxstroke is going to get off that Sucker Punch right there as SoulWind is out of range of the Excadrill. Excadrill is going to come out and just proceed to go for the Iron Head, hoping for that flinch, because if he gets it, there's a chance he could win. So goes for the Iron Head, gets the flinch right there, goes for another Iron Head instead of Earthquake. And there's no way Earthquake knocked out Reinuclus. Like he 100% would have went for Earthquake if Earthquake did knock out Reinuclus. And because Iron Head not only has the same chance to crit as Earthquake, but also has that flinch chance, Iron Head was definitely his best play right there. And he does not end up getting the flinch. SoulWind's able to break through and basically, at that point, Ferrothorn is going to go down. So SoulWind just makes a really safe play, just going for recover here, because that means that no matter what attack Ferrothorn goes for, even if it ends up critting him, he's not going to be able to take him out, and that's going to be game. So SoulWind ends up winning versus We3 Kings, and I do want to say, a little bit of a spoiler, but Asta and Undisputed Play, two players that I actually really like watching, and because I don't want to butcher a good ADV game, I don't actually want to commentate this. Since, while I know a bit about ADV, I can't always say what was my opponent's thought process there, so I don't want to butcher this. So what I'll do is I'll be leaving this replay down below, but the Wolfpack ended up winning. ABR did not have to play his tiebreaker this week. I'm sorry to give a spoiler, but I just wanted to give you guys what happened. But Wolfpack ended up winning, and I really like Asta's Swampert set. It was Surf, I think, Refresh, Toxic, Protect, so that was really cool. But Wolfpack ended up winning, and that means that they're all into the finals. But I will get you guys with the hopefully 2 more games coming out later today, so I'll put those up Saturday because I'll be able to catch them. But like I said, I don't really want to butcher an ADV game because I don't feel confident enough in my commentary, so at least not when it's me playing. But I'll link the replay down below if you guys want to watch what was going on. Thank you everyone for watching. Like I said in the beginning, if you guys want to pick up a pair of Drop Draco socks, they are available for 9 more days. Link is down below. I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, my friends.